if you are not expressing yourself as who you are, above all else, the world will wash you over. In today's episode, I have another sit down with my dear friend Des, who is an incredible real estate agent. And I don't even give her the identity that that's what she is, because she encompasses so much more than just being in this realm of real estate. But what she teaches me, and she's teaching all of us in this episode, is how to bring all of you into your business. And the reason she is so incredibly successful is because that's what she does. She doesn't ask for permission. She makes it happen. She is a conscious creator of her reality, and she's able to manifest things that are incredible. I'm watching from afar. I know nothing about real estate, but I just know that Des is an incredible leader. She's an incredible real estate agent because she knows exactly what she's doing by being her truest self. So enjoy today's episode. We go through a wide-ranging conversation, everything from surrender to how to be your most authentic self to just actually tapping into a deep practice you're going to really enjoy. So enjoy today's episode, and I'll see you in there. Before we get into this episode, I just want to say thank you for being a listener and for going on this journey with me. This has been such an incredible project, putting together these episodes and getting all these guests together. It's been such a fun experience for me. And if you have found this to be valuable, please consider reviewing it on iTunes, because that's how people find it. And share this episode with somebody that you know, like, and trust, that you know will get some benefit out of it. If you find value, you know somebody else will find value from an episode like today. So thank you again for listening. In the coming episodes, we have something very special. I'm just going to prime you. I am sharing the insider knowledge of the online program called Being an Unbreakable Man. I am giving away for free the first main section of that entire course. This is a course that is worth thousands of dollars for people, but I really want to give this away because I really genuinely believe that men have an opportunity in today's day and age. We are carrying an incredible amount of pressure from work and life, and men just need a path. They need some direction. And that's my intention for those episodes as they come out. It will be over the course of about the next 7 or 8 episodes, and you will have access to that just through the podcast itself. You can also download the accompanying PDFs as they come out. You know, there will be a link for you to do that, but I'm really excited, and I really wanted to share that for you to get access to that. And lastly, if you are listening to this right now, we are recording this and launching this in early March. Our next Unbreakable Man experience has a few more spots left. If you are interested, that is April 13th through the 16th, 2023. If you are interested in going through a life-transforming program, I've had guys come from all over the world for this thing, from Central America, from Europe, obviously the United States. That's obviously our big one. The guys that get through this program, that truly finish this program, their lives are changed forever in the most amazing way. I still am getting texts from the guys that go through this program. The price point at this point is $5,000. I'll be completely honest with you. It will change your life. If you have questions about that or want to go through a payment plan, just let me know. I'm open to it. We can get you financing and get you the results you're looking for. I know that this program will change your life. I know the value is there. And I will even give you a guarantee. If you find nothing of value at the end of it, I'll give you all your money back and I'll pay for your flight, up to $500. That's what I always say. So I know you will get an incredible amount of value out of it. It will change your life. And when you are ready, again, this is a big commitment because it's going to transform your life. When you are ready, then make the call. Just go into the link, into the description, apply, put your name in there so that I can give you a call and talk about it, see if you're the right fit for this program, because I do keep this thing small. Number one, it's a very intimate experience by design, and I want each guy to get a lot out of this program. So put your name in there. We'll have a call first, and then we'll make a decision. All right. I love you guys. I'll see you in the episode. What is up, beautiful humans? This is Dr. Dave Cahotis. I am on a mission to forge strong, heart-centered, and purpose-driven men. And this podcast is here to help you stop managing your problems and start breaking free of stress, limiting beliefs, and excuses that stop you from executing at your fullest potential, living with passion, and being the man you want to be. So let's go. Des.
Hey.
Welcome.
Hi.
This is, we'll call this part 2 because we were recording in a coffee shop and there was a lot of noise in the background. So we had to pivot and we said, we need to do this again because we had such an incredible time the first time. And you and I just had a very magical moment. I'll just call it magical because that's really what it was. And
for like an hour.
Yeah, for like an hour. We were like, let's go record this podcast. And then we just dropped in and we had a sit together and this deep meditation. And some things came through. And I kind of want to start there.
Okay.
Let's start with just this idea of truth and surrender and feeling it. Feeling into surrender. What is surrender to you?
What is surrender?
Yeah.
Oh, I've gone through so many different journeys of what in surrender. I think like layers have peeled. So where I am right now, because who knows where surrender will be tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right now, my surrender is I am unattached to it all. And I am surrendered to the mystery of it all. And that is my surrender. It is when I do that, when I am okay and more than okay, when I am excited for the mystery, right? Because if I try to think of an outcome, then I know I'm limiting myself because our mind can only fathom so much.
Yeah.
So when I am surrendered to the mystery of it all, then I'm open.
And for context, you are one of the top producing, you said 3% of all of Texas?
Yeah, in Central Texas.
A realtor in Texas, and incredible accolades. You are able to create magical experiences, not just in a home buying transaction, because home buying is very transactional.
It can be.
And you bring this magic to it. And that's where I wanted us to step back in. I know we talked about it a little bit, in our first recording, but I think it's very poignant because so often, and I see this very often with men, that we get into the doing of life. And you've been able to achieve incredible levels of success, not by doing. Now, of course, there is the skill, right? There is the natural, the transaction of things and the, like the paperwork and the appointments and the calls but by being who you are in your fullness, you have been able to create an incredible book of business, an incredible success and achievement. And you get to express yourself as who the fuck you want to be.
Yeah.
Right? You are in alignment with who you are. And that is so special. That is so rare in the world. And how do you do that?
I mean, I guess the first part of it is that paperwork and those calls or whatever it is. I don't see it at all as a transaction, but more as action.
Okay.
Right? Because we have to do that. So that's just one little tiny thing I wanted to clarify, because that is a different resonance, right? When you feel transactional or when you feel just action, because dreams come, the magic happens not just by the surrender, but also in the action.
Yes.
That makes sense.
You mentioned a resonance, and I kind of want to stop there just because this is really foreign for a lot of people, both men and women.
Okay.
And because we are, in general, we speak to the hearts of men, it's so foreign to be in what's called resonance. We don't know what that means. And it's I guess I know, it's like it's a feeling, right? But describe if you can, like, what's the difference?
Well, in the being, right, of able to do what I do by being me.
Yeah.
With action, right? In that resonance, it's really just being in my truth with myself. Like, I don't know how to operate any other way. And it looks different for sure. The way I do real estate looks different than most. So the resonance, the feeling, I'll give you an example between, for me, the feeling of transaction versus action. Transaction is so only mind. It's not the heart. It kind of takes it out for me. I don't see it that way. So action is exciting.
Yeah.
Right? It's the feeling of showing up in action for myself in my truth. Transaction is what everybody else has taught me and told me to do.
It's if I give, then I'll get.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Rather than there is the natural action of real estate in the movement. And those are the normal skills, right? We'll call that like the context. And inside of that is the sensation of you can show up however you want, and you can throw these incredible parties. I've been to one of your parties. They were amazing. And I didn't even want to buy that house, but I was like, I just want to go to the party. Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm so happy you showed up too. Yeah. It was so good.
It was incredible. And just for a backstory, it was an open house, and typical open houses, you go and there's like a bowl of some type of hard candy and like cards everywhere. But this was not an open house. This was an experience. There was artists, there were musicians, there were culinary individuals crafting this amazing food. There was this bioresonance vibration thing, like this seat that you would sit on and you would have this entire experience. Like the entire thing, and even the people that brought themselves there was like just like a whole vibe. And it really set that experience apart for me as a human, just to see what that is. And then to know, like, if I ever am ready to buy or sell a home, I'm going to go to Des. It's without a shadow of a doubt. It's like, yeah, like you're my girl, because I know it's not going to be this hard felt, like, you got to do this. Hey, you got to sell at this price, or you got to buy at this price, or like, I think you should do, it's going to be this, like, you get me, like you get me as a human. And I think we're missing that in business, and especially in the business world, is the humanness that people have, these underlying sensations that they're trying to achieve, these emotions that they might feel unheard or unseen, and they are trying to gain access to something, whether doesn't matter if it's in banking or real estate or in the medical community. Like, people are trying to sell services or these things because they're trying to get somewhere. But in reality, they don't recognize that they can just be whoever the fuck they want to be.
Yeah.
And have an incredible time doing it.
And real and play.
Yes.
Right. I think there's like, when we're even growing up in schools and things, it's like this step by step.
Yeah.
You do this, you get this.
Yes.
Right. Even if you're not having fun. Right. And so that's hard.
Yeah.
Daily. Like, that's not fun. It's not play. I like to play.
Yeah.
And what I mean by play is all the little ideas or thoughts that come to me, even if they seem so far-fetched, I play. and see. And I'm like, I have no idea if this is going to work or whatever. I have no attachment to whatever this will look like, but I'm having fun with myself.
Yes. I love that you lean forward when you are waking up in the morning. Is that the first thought of like, what do I get to play with today?
I mean, it's one of the first thoughts. My first thoughts in the morning, yeah. How do I stay in integrity with myself?
Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah. And what I mean by that is, how do I honor what is coming up in me?
Yeah.
Right? It isn't about right or wrong, because there's no such thing as right or wrong. There really isn't. You can't take one path and it be the right path and choose something and it be the wrong. It'll lead you somewhere. It's just integrity with honoring me.
This truth. Yes.
And then my next thought really is, how do I excitingly get in my body? And I practice a breath work practice that's really sweet. It's not aggressive. It just takes me into my spine from my head to my sacral. And I breathe and I imagine my spine as a butterfly.
Okay.
And this is what my spine is doing, because I understand that that's my life force too, and my clarity. And if I can just breathe into that, then I know I can hold myself. If that makes any sense.
That makes complete sense. So one of the things that I teach is exactly that. In the beginning of the day, your only mission is to cultivate your life force. And life force, if people don't know what that means, it literally just is the energy that you use essentially to move the life through you, right? This body is being animated by something, and it is life force. And in fact, there's a really prominent psychiatrist in LA named Phil Stutz, and there's a really cool documentary on Netflix called Stutz, Stutz. And it's a really great documentary. It's actually quite interesting. And this is a concept that I've always known, which is called life force. And when you study Eastern medicines or any type of, whether Reiki or just kind of any deep mystical practices, they always talk about life force. But when he brought life force into psychiatry and he talked about life force and where does it come from and how do you cultivate it? And the answer to that is, it's already within you, but you can cultivate it through breath, through movement, through exercise, through taking a cold shower, through moving your body,
through loving yourself.
Through loving yourself, you can cultivate this life force. And the first thing to do in the morning, every morning, and I preach this and you practice this, is cultivate that life force, because it is in that discipline that you are showing true self-love, that you love yourself enough to show up every day, rain or shine, whether you have an ice storm in your city or not.
I have a really good, I think this people could get, which is kind of really cool. So a while ago, years ago, I realized and I noticed, and it's really beautiful, that people started a gratitude practice, a gratitude journal.
Yeah.
And people write out what they're grateful for, right? And I noticed, I was like, this is fascinating. I don't really have a gratitude journal, but I am grateful like all day long of my life. Is that when you're writing out your gratitude, it's still so much just mind.
Yes.
And you're not actually getting into the zhuzh of feeling good.
In the body, yes.
So a beautiful thing that I can encourage is, how do you turn on the life force? Okay. When I'm doing my meditation or my practice in my morning, a really great way to start feeling the life is I am grateful for my body. So I go in, I'm grateful for my lungs, for they can breathe. They allow me to breathe. I'm grateful to my heart, for it pumps life and blood into me. I'm grateful for my ears. And I go through my entire system and you're loving inside, right? Because you're visualizing your organs and you're activating, you're loving, you're just sending love and you're acknowledging your body internally. When you're doing that, all of a sudden you're like, ooh, yeah, that feels good.
Yeah.
That starts to activate the life force.
Do you mind bringing us through a practice? Would you like to guide us?
I mean, sure, I guess. Because, okay.
Just guide us through the way you would speak to yourself and how that shows up. So if you are driving, make sure you're in a seated position. Don't do this while driving.
I mean, even when I'm driving,
okay,
I've always breathed. I've always had a big, deep breath.
Okay.
Right. And so, to the point where some people have been like, are you okay? Like they think there's something actually wrong with me. Like if I'm upset or something, I'm like, oh no, I'm just breathing. Like I really like to breathe. So even when I'm driving, I'll be at a stop sign or somewhere and I'm just focused. I'm just breathing.
Yeah.
Because even if you're driving and you're breathing and you're just really doing it because you're like activating or you're stretching your lungs, then your body will do it for you naturally. Does that make sense? Then your body will start to be like, oh, wow, that feels so good.
Yeah.
Oh, you've not done that in a while. And so anyways, but yeah, we can. So I will just sit with myself. And if thoughts come, I've heard quite a few people say this and I took it and I just let them be like clouds because thoughts will come. We're human. Mind does things. So, oh, thank you, feet, for carrying me. Oh, for being my foundation, for getting me places. Thank you, lungs. Oh, for moving oxygen through my body. For giving me breath. For keeping me going. Thank you, heart. Oh, thank you, heart, for pumping blood. For pumping blood through my body. For being where I can operate from. Thank you, arms. Oh, thank you, arms, for allowing me to hug the people I want to hug. Oh, to pick up pencils. Oh, to pet blue. Thank you, ears. Oh, for allowing me to hear the beautiful music that keeps me in the frequency. Oh, to hear the voice of my mom still to this day. Just tell me you love me. Oh, thank you, ears. Thank you, ears, for Dave. Oh, because I love his voice so much. Thank you, mind. Oh, thank you, mind, for also protecting me. It's okay. For thinking and creating all the things. Thank you, spine. Ooh, for holding me. Oh, thank you, world, for providing trees that let me breathe. Oh, for the water that I can swim in. Oh, for the amazingness that you are, that we're floating in space. That is really cool. Oh, thank you, body. Thank you, body, for being incredible. I mean, I'm functioning. That is so cool. Thank you, breath, for connecting me to deeper and deeper and deeper. Thank you, breath, because you've peeled a layer of deeper self-love with myself. And for that, I am so grateful. That's just one example.
That was incredible.
Oh, good.
That was incredible. That hits way deeper than writing it out on a piece of paper in the morning. And there is, of course, there's value. I love so I practice and also facilitate a process called setting the vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And setting the vibe is very similar,
Mm-hmm.
but instead of sitting, I'll go on a walk or I'll be in my car.
Yeah.
And I will do the same thing. But it might not always be gratitude. Maybe it's abundance. Maybe it's love. Maybe it's freedom. Maybe it's power that I'll focus on. And I'll just tune in to that sensation of love. And I'll just say, love, love. Yeah, love. Yeah, love feels good. I can feel love. I can feel love right now for no other reason but to feel love. I get to feel love. Yeah, love feels good. And then I'll let the sensations of love start to wash over me. And as I start to let the sensations of love start to wash over me, I start to notice that it almost like it wants to crawl and reach for like another thought in that. Like, I love my dog. Yeah, my dog is awesome. I love my dog. Right? And then I think, I love my kids. My kids are amazing. Like their wonder and their joy and their play. I love that. I love to see that in them. I love to see and experience their innocence and their joy in life. And I love my wife. And I love the way she shows up. I love how impactful she is in the world and how beautiful she is and how powerful she is. And I love my house and I love the home we build inside of our house and the sensations of that. And I love my company. I love building this incredible network of men and creating this brotherhood and then building this thing that is so powerful and impactful. And I love that I get to show up every day and do that's my job. Like, that is amazing.
That's really cool. And
so you can kind of see, like, setting the vibe gets to be whatever it wants to be. And in the beginning, it just starts general. It just starts like focusing on the sensation itself for no other reason. And you just let the ball roll just slowly. Because if you jump to a thought and that thought is too fast, essentially, almost like, nope, too much, you're just going to tune out. You're going to say, nope. It's almost like your body and your brain have not aligned to that sensation. And when I'm cultivating life force in the morning, one of the things, I love the physical practices and like the warrior practices, like working out and, I'll do yoga every morning. I'll meditate, and having that set the vibe practice for me, I will literally do that 3 to 4 times a day in the morning. Absolutely. It's like a non-negotiable. And then when I'm feeling a little bit sluggish, when I come back from a break, anytime I come back from a break from doing anything else before I step into creative work or execution, quote unquote, action, I will always set the vibe because I know when I'm acting from a place of joy, from love, from freedom, from power, from the man that I want to be, I will absolutely get the result I'm looking for. And it doesn't work the other way around, just like you were describing. When you are working from transaction, from this sense of I must get, or I must give this in order to get this, or and a lot of people don't even think about giving. They just say, I need to go get this. I need to go get the sales.
It'll make me happy.
Yeah, because then it'll make me happy. But in reality, it won't make you happy because you'll get to the end of that and you will achieve. Like, you'll push hard. And
for maybe for seconds, it may make you feel happy.
Yeah.
Or you think it does.
Yeah.
And then it goes poof.
And then it goes away.
And then there's where that next one has to come.
Exactly.
And then you're like, wait, I need that feeling again.
Yes. I
didn't mean to interrupt.
And no, it's perfect because this kind of what we're speaking on, which is the difference between doing and being. And when you set the vibe, when you set the life force every single morning and you just start there, then you get to show up as that individual unabashedly with full permission from yourself. And that's one area that you and I speak on regularly.
And I will say this, especially when people are just getting started to feel their body, like organs and life force, it's okay. Like you cry, that can come up too, right? It may need an emotion, may come up, any emotion. And it's just an emotion, right? But that's also creating life force because you're releasing that emotion and it's not attaching a story to that emotion, right? So sometimes, yeah, like if you're starting to operate your lungs, oh, that can bring up like just water and and that's not bad, right? So it doesn't have to be just like, ooh, zinging, I'm going to be amazingly happy. That will happen naturally because you're just activating the awareness of acknowledging your body.
Yes.
So whatever comes from that is also an activation of life force. It's life force.
Ooh. I love that. It's one of those things too when I'm doing the work and early on, and I'll tell you this, like as a man, right? Allowing myself to express emotion was not okay. Right? Especially in front of my wife. There were moments of vulnerability where I remember like crying because I was fucking lost and I had nowhere else to go. And we were actually talking about this beforehand. We're going to do a quick side pivot into this because I think this is a really important conversation. We will come back to how do we get to be and be successful and like live like, that successful life. But I think this is a really important conversation because if you don't have the ability to offload the pressure that you are carrying, you will, like, the pressure will just destroy you. It will crush you because when you are calling in your greatest desire in life, whether that's $1 billion company, it's a certain person in your bed, it's a certain lifestyle, it's the certain career, you must have emotional adaptability. Like it's a non-negotiable. You can't get to where you want to go without having the understanding, both the intelligence and the ability to express that energy. It's one thing to have emotional. A lot of people talk about emotional intelligence, but it seems so cerebral because emotions don't live in this cerebrum. It lives in the body. We experience the whole existence of our life through emotion. And when you have the ability to offload and express that pressure that builds up, and that pressure builds up in the form of stress, and that pressure builds up in the form of anxiety and just this tension that we feel. If you are unable to express that, it will, like I said, it will crush you. And so, one of the things that early on in my genesis as a man, kind of in my becoming, I call it my becoming because that's sort of what it is. It's like going from boyhood psychology into manhood psychology. My ability to reach out and to express that was non-existent. And we were kind of touching on a subject. It was it hit home for me because that's who I was when you're in a low place, and that low place could just be grief. It could be just a lack of confidence, a lack of trust in yourself, a lack of self-love. And you know it, and you're not living up to your potential, and you just don't know where to go. One of the things that I see with so many men is that it is in societal norms, it is so unnatural and uncommon for us to be able to share our heart vulnerably. And I think what a lot of I read Brene Brown and I like her stuff, and what she talks about is vulnerability, but it's not that easy. It's not that easy.
Because you have to be honest with yourself first.
Yes.
Also.
So I guess my question to you is like, and we were talking about a personal experience that you had. If you feel comfortable sharing that, I will receive. But it's just really important, I think, that men know that they can have a place to express what they are going through. And if they don't, it will crush them. We must come together as men, because I have been in groups of women where I've been able to share my heart, but I'll just tell you this, I can't go as deep because there's always this desire in me, this even this curiosity of sexual attraction to the feminine, to the females in the room. And so, like, can I truly open myself up completely and vulnerably and be that And one of those areas, and I have shared this in groups of other women, but a lot of men have shame around sex, around their sex and their sexual, whether orientation or their sexual desires. And to share that in front of a group of women, it becomes off as perversion and predatorial, and because there's so much wounding there. And so it was a bit of a tangent, but
that's okay.
Yeah, I wanted to chat about that. I thought that was poignant. So.
Yeah, it's a collective thing too, right?
Yeah.
So at the same time, we have not created a space for men to be vulnerable.
Yes.
So it isn't just on the men, right? It isn't just on like, be vulnerable. Like you're like, whoa, how? I was never taught to. I was taught to be strong since I was a little boy. You know, as a little boy, you're going to be this, you're going to do that. You're going to take care of the family. Like I cannot imagine what it must have felt like as a boy to hear you are going to be the provider, financially, emotionally, all of it.
Yeah.
As a little boy.
Yeah, it's like everything's on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
It's real. And the thing is, like, it got
live up to that.
And live up to that. That was one of my one of the reasons for my darkest night was not being able to provide for my family. And the way it worked out for me was I lost my company, and I had to go home to my then pregnant wife and tell her, and she miscarried within a week. And I linked up. I did that. My own greed, going after this entrepreneurial success, this idea of success in my head, was the reason that my child is now dead. And I went dark. I had nowhere else to go. And like, I didn't have anybody to reach out to. I tried reaching out to people. And even in that, I remember like having a sit down with a mentor of mine, and he literally just was like, he felt so uncomfortable that he actually stopped returning my phone calls. It was like, wow, I got nowhere to go, because we aren't taught
how to hold
that, because we haven't, like, that's not a social norm for us to be able to hold space. And yet the irony of the masculine and men is that is our greatest gift.
Yeah.
It is our greatest gift when we learn the skills of holding space, of being an empathetic witness, which means being outside of the experience, but holding the space without reaction, and just allowing the experience to happen in front of us and witness that. We bless the individual
and women.
And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. A woman can hold a man in that.
Yes.
Right? That you're seen. It's okay.
Yes.
That's freedom.
It's absolute freedom.
You know, like as girls and women, you're also taught, I just know this from conversation, like the man should hold the space and the man, and if we don't, as women, also learn how to hold space without being reactive, without making it about us.
Wow. That alone. That's that makes me feel a lot better knowing that you understand that because I 100% agree. We need that. Like thinking about my relationship with my wife in the early days, she was unable to hold space and I didn't feel safe to be who I needed to be and be who I was in my wholeness. And some of those parts of me were undesirable, right? Like some of those parts of me that I didn't want to see, parts in my shadow of like, I'm just going to put that in the back. I'm not going to look at that one, put that, behind me. And yet I had to reckon with that. And I had to leave her physically and go off on these like weekend excursions and these retreats and find myself and journal and dive into my own psyche so that I could come back. And yet still within that relationship, within that relating, I still needed her to be able to hold space, just knowing that I was safe in my own home to be whoever I wanted to be, so that all the work that I did outside of the home that I would bring forward was still received, and like sort of like and I get to have it currently And in the beginning, it wasn't like that. I'll be honest. It was like, we had our struggles. I would come home from these events and I would feel so alive and just so in like, this is amazing. Like I'm so in love and I can conquer the world. And then it would be like, yeah, like crush, like, did you take out the trash? It was like, and it was just, and it would be these moments where I'm like, I just want to be myself. And there was a moment where I just stopped giving a fuck. I really did. And I just was like, I'm just going to be whoever I am and show up as me, regardless of how you react to me. And I think that was a pretty powerful moment because it was like this, almost like this testing. And then I broke through it. And then there was nowhere else to go. And so then it forced my wife to level up. It just did, because I was like, I'm not going back. I'm not going back to where I was. I can't go back to where I was. I'm through the veil. And
yeah, with all of that being said, I definitely want to make it so clear that there is zero blame on anyone, either the masculine and the feminine.
Yeah.
Right? For not being able to hold that space.
Yeah.
There is no blame. We just were never taught or shown how to. We are incredible beings with incredible capabilities when we choose to. So there's no need to be hard on yourself if you haven't been able to hold space before. Because right now is all that matters. Right. So being able to shift that. Right. Because I think also in that emotion before of life force, I think one of the hardest and the stuff that keeps you really feeling constricted is self-blame. And we're so mean to ourselves. Why couldn't I do this? Man, I should have shown up this way. For both sides, right? And it's just understanding that we have the ability to hold space, that it's really not scary. If anything, it's really beautiful and really freeing. It's just uncomfortable because we've never done it.
We've never done it. We've never been taught the art of holding space. And for those that don't know, again, holding space is just being an empathetic witness to the experience. And it's sort of like when a child that isn't yours, and you see a child having a temper tantrum and it doesn't affect you, and you have no agenda with it. You have no desire, but simply to just see the best outcome for that individual. That is holding space. And it's different. Like, holding space is not being like, all right, I'm gonna listen to you, but you have an agenda, right? Behind it. You can't have an agenda. You can't have a single iota of want, except for to see that person in their greatest light, and then to visualize that person as being their greatest self. And that is the art of holding space. It is the first step, without a doubt. And it's almost as if, and I don't think it's almost, I think we must, as a society, teach this to children. We must teach them. Go ahead.
I think children know it. Children already understand it and they know it. It's taken away from them.
Ooh.
So it's taught. Children play with kids. They get angry and you see that and they're like, oh, whatever. It doesn't affect children of another.
Yeah.
It's when you're out with your parents, it's your parents who feel embarrassed. So they're like, don't act that way. Don't show emotion that way. So then it's like, oh, that was bad to do. So it's almost like we now as adults, where we are right now is we're peeling the layers to be more childlike.
Yes.
So it's like, how do parents not take that? It's also, well, if you're embarrassed, that's a you thing. Excuse me.
That's yours.
That's yours.
That's yours, mom.
Which
dad.
It can relate to adults too, right?
Yeah.
When somebody's showing an emotion or having a really hard time, a lot of people, we make it about ourselves, or we think of our experience or something, or we want to fix it because that's uncomfortable for us, versus just, I will hug you.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I will hold you. And I will not make it mine.
Yeah, that's really big, especially if you are a quote unquote empathetic person.
Mm-hmm.
Because being an empathetic witness is not being empathetic per se. It's just witnessing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not taking on someone else's grief or sadness. That's sympathy. That's like getting in the pit with them.
Mm-hmm.
Empathy is throwing them a rope and saying, hey, I'm here. And that last like little bit, I'll grab your arm, but I'm not going in there with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's knowing the difference, because you jump in that pit with them, and I will raise my hand and say, I definitely have jumped in some pits.
I have jumped in pits. I mean, even last year was a big year for me with that. And I know I had to experience that to get me to December when I was like,
yeah,
my job and my career does not define.
Oh,
that was like, because I jumped into the pits with my people.
Yeah.
I made their shit my shit.
Yeah. You can't make their shit your shit.
I can't make their shit my shit. Because how am I supposed to guide or help, or, how are you supposed to do that if you get into the shit?
Absolutely. It's one of the tenets of leadership. You can't make other people's shit your shit. You have to be able to see from above.
Mm-hmm.
And it's visionary leadership of being on the battlefield, but not being in the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally different. It's a totally different experience. We've gone full circle, and I love this. Is incredible. I want to bring us back into frequencies, and also aligning ourselves to be you freely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we already have kind of touched on a few things. Is the ability to be free. We must be free within ourselves, and go into that sense of self-love, right? It's sometimes there's this little voice in our head that says like, well, who are you to dance in the middle of the street? People are going to think you're psychotic, don't move like you want to. But, sometimes I'll be out in my front yard with my shirt off and my shoes off, and I'll be dancing.
Of course you are.
And my neighbors, they're like, what? Like in the beginning, they're like, what the fuck? But then you just keep doing it. And they're like, yeah, that's Dave.
That's Dave.
Yeah, that's Dave. Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's Dave now. And I'll be out there like, running around like I'm a monkey. And in the beginning, people will judge. But again, that's their shit.
It's theirs.
That's their shit. And that's not your shit. That's theirs.
That's theirs because they were told that's weird.
Exactly.
Can you imagine if for a long time, a whole bunch of us were in the morning just like doing this, then that wouldn't be weird.
Absolutely.
It's just a thought.
100%. And in fact, we were doing that as kids. We were playing like animals and pretending like we were horses and running around like, I remember being like barnyard animals and being like, all right, I'll be the horse, you be the cow. And yeah. And like, it's a completely normal thing for us to be able to do that and express ourselves that way. And you mentioned something, the statement you said, childlike is not childish. That there's a big difference there. And I think a lot of people think that if I'm childlike, if I play, if I have fun, if I enjoy life, and get out of the tactics and the transaction and the strategy and then identifying as my career, right? If I get out of that, then I'm going to be childish, and I won't be responsible, and I won't provide, and I won't get things done. When in reality, it's to be your greatest self, to be the person you want to be. You actually have to bring that childlike curiosity and play and joy into your vocation, into your work. And when you can do that, and I see that with you, the way you show up in real estate is just so refreshing, because it reminds me that I too need to bring that into my space, because I forget at times, and I think, all right, what do I need to do today? There's all this doing, and there's an irony. I teach this stuff, and yet I got to remind myself.
I do too.
Yeah.
I'm human.
Yeah.
See, there's that, right? I have so much self-compassion because that is what I desire to flow in. And most of the time I do. But there are, shit hits the fan. And when shit hits the fan, I do know also that I'm like, oof, what do I got to learn here? Because there is something that I'm like wanting to avoid. And then that's when I just like, Compassion. And then that's the funny thing about life, isn't it? About humaning, is it will forever be this journey of evolvement, and whatever it evolves to, right? We're the peaks and the valleys, and you can't always be here because that's not fun. What are you learning? You're not learning.
Yes, I completely agree. It's fun on the top sometimes.
It's super fun on the top.
It is. It's really fun. Trees don't grow on the top of the mountains. That's what I've always heard. But I do agree with you. As soon as you're on the top, though, there is this, and there's neuroscience behind this too, that when you are in that place of achievement, you have succeeded, you can absolutely get addicted to that. And dopamine will just like flood your body for a while, but then dopamine is depleting. Mm-hmm. And if we don't actually stop and pick the next mountaintop and go through it, we will fall into a depression. We will fall into the valley regardless. We'll just fall down.
Yeah, I mean, I have a good example with business.
Okay.
Right? So, and I know not just myself, but there is another friend of mine who's a male who's also kind of in the same place. There has been, at least last year, we talked about it a lot. And his company grew 6x in 1 year.
Yeah.
And mine grew significantly as well. And it's this fascinating thing because you're showing up and you're being, and next thing you know, sure, you can call it at the top, right? You're feeling like, whoa. And there is something there that was hard for me. I speak for myself, where it was like, that was another level of like, oh, I don't know how to be here fully all the time. Now I'm leadership. Now I'm a leader. That doesn't come just because.
Yes.
Right. So that was like hard for me to accept and fully become the ownership of that. I had to go through getting myself into those shoes. Right. And so it's like you have this achievement. Next thing you're there. Well, to continue there, that's like work. It's work.
Yes.
And it's not easy.
Correct. It's simple. It's not easy.
It's simple. It's not easy. Surrender.
That's absolutely. And that's the surrender piece. It's, like in any industry, if you want to be successful, just like the idea of success, right? From a tangible, maybe money's perspective, find a mentor that's done it and just model that. Yeah. Literally, like that's how easy it is.
Model it. I guess you could model it, but still show up as yourself, right? Because I think so many people will be like, well, tell me what the playbook is, and I'm going to follow that playbook.
Correct. And that was what I was mentioning, is like the version of success. I feel like you want to take like vocational success as a sort of philosophy in America, which is like generally money driven. Mm-hmm. So it's very rational, like numbers, dollars and cents. That is success, but you cut out the heart of it. Mm-hmm. And you lose the play and the joy and the nuance of yourself. And if you want true fulfillment and success, that's an art. Mm-hmm. That's going in. That's creating. Instead of doing what you see in open houses, you create a whole experience, right? You have events. You bring in DJs, and it's so amazing. And then it brings this whole vibe. And then, even if it's not that house that you sell, but you get a bunch of other people to be like, what is she got going on? Will you be my real estate agent? Sell my house like this? And it's like, abso-fucking-lutely. And that is how you become successful and fulfilled, because you get to be who you want to be. Because when you are your fullest self, unabashedly, completely free, people will, in the beginning, resist this. Mm-hmm. It always happens this way, and I don't know why, but like people resist it. Just like we were saying, like if I'm dancing in my front yard with my shirt off, and like I'm basically down in my skivvies, and I'm like, just dancing in the sun and the trees, and I am the wind, and just like expressing myself and just being like, whatever, I don't give a fuck, like just loving it. People will look at that and be like, this is weird. And then over time, people have been reaching out since I started doing that, being like, what do you got going on? What do you got going on over there? I kind of see what you're doing. And I was in quick side note. I was at the deer cleaning station. So I love hunting. I'm like talk about man stuff. Yeah.
I'm visualizing you and I love this. Where is this going?
And some of the guys, and this is like central Texas, that you can imagine the type of political choices and the type of mindsets that these men have. But one by one, they were coming up to me because they were watching, because they still follow me on Instagram and these things. And they're like, what's this guy got? Like, I've been seeing what you're doing, man. Like, tell me more about it. And I'm just like, well, what's been sticking out? You know, I tell them about it. And then they're like, yeah, man, like I see that. Like, there isn't any place to go to talk about these things. And then, you know, because like that's my mission, is just have a central place, have a place to go. You can get that shit off your chest, release the pressure, be more emotionally adaptable. And then you get to be whoever you want to be. And so going back to what we were talking about is allowing yourself just to be you. And in the beginning, people are going to be like, what?
Who am I?
Who am I? Yeah, who am I? And then also other people are going to be like, who are you? And you're like, I don't know. I'm just me.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all we want. We just want to be ourselves fully, wholly. We were talking about wholeness before this.
Yeah. And I like to remind myself and people, and, you know, it's so funny because, okay, we have this world. There's like billions people in this world. And there were quadrillions behind us.
Yes.
Right? And more that are going to be in front of us.
Yes.
We're here for a blip of time.
Yeah.
That it doesn't fucking matter. It is your experience in this lifetime.
Yeah.
It is your joy.
Yeah.
It is your play, right? Do you remember every single human who has lived behind you?
Yeah.
No.
Right. That's
your great-great-grandparents, like great-great-great-great. You're like, they got me here.
Yeah.
But I don't know their day-to-day.
Yeah.
Right? And then the people ahead of us, the humans ahead of us, we're setting it up. But like the freedom of that, of remembering this is going to continue to keep going. We are insignificant and significant, right?
Yes.
The only thing that matters is our journey.
And your truth.
And our truth in this life. Well, that is part of it in this lifetime. Yours.
Yes.
I get to experience me every day.
100%. And nobody else is going to experience you every day.
No, because they're thinking about their own stuff.
They're thinking about their own shit. But that's not your shit.
That's not my shit. It's so fun.
It's so fun because you get to be whoever the fuck you want to be. And you mentioned something even within that is like, it doesn't fucking matter. I had a mushroom experience. This is like the first one I had a while ago. And that was the core lesson that just kept coming through. And it was in the voice of Rafiki. And I always laugh at this because Rafiki's voice, for whatever reason, like is my mushroom journey voice that is like, it hits me on the head. Like,
what does Rafiki sound like?
Is you remember Rafiki? He's not I think he's a baboon from The Lion King. He's the monkey from The Lion King.
Oh yeah.
He's the wise one that sees. He's the magician, right? He's the magician archetype. And he goes, he knocks him on the head and he goes, you see? and and he like shows him like he is the Lion King and that, by the way, I love that movie. It's such a good movie. And so every time I'm in mushrooms, I'll get this lesson just over and over and over again. And this one time it was just like the very first time actually, the lesson was, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter. Everything's a joke. That is the joke. It's all a joke. It doesn't fucking matter. And then it was just like, you see? Like after it just like drug me through the mud. And what's funny about mushrooms, I won't go on a side tangent here too much, but it's both like you get called to it and then you're like, I never want to fucking do that again. Like after you come out and you're like, that was intense. But going back to what you were describing with, it doesn't fucking matter. There was a piece of me that we are, at the end of the day, we're all going to die. Yeah. We're all going to die. If you are not living in integrity with your truth, you'll know. Like you, as the person listening to this right now, if you are not living in integrity with your higher self, with your soul, whatever word works for you there, you know. No one else knows, but you know. And the more you try to push that away, the more it will eat you up.
You can lie to anybody all day long, but you cannot lie to yourself. I mean, you can to a certain degree.
You can try to lie to yourself, and it's so common. And man, I was doing it for a long time, you know, and I would stifle it with a little bit of alcohol after work, you know, but I wasn't an alcoholic, but it'd be like 2 glasses of wine at night. It'd be little extra food. It'd be porn. It'd be television. I loved sports. I would numb out with sports, like click, you know, sports on in the evening or in the afternoon. And it was such an unconscious, like, go to this. I'm just going to do this. I'm not going to really like speak my truth. And we were sharing something pretty intimate before we got on here about truth. And there's a truth on my heart. And, you know, you sharing that with me is like, yeah, it doesn't fucking matter. I am going to die. You know, why not live my truth? Why not be it? Why not just be free? And sometimes here's the thing too, is like when you live your authentic truth, what is truly on your heart, you are going to ruffle feathers and you are going to see I don't know if you want to call it backlash or the outcome of that, the reaction.
There are always consequences.
Always.
And consequences don't necessarily always have to be bad, but there are consequences to choices.
Yes.
Choose your truth.
Choose.
Because no matter what, people are going to feel however they're going to feel. And that's not, you can't do anything about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you'll know too. That's the thing. Like you'll know if you're not feeling whole.
Okay, here's an example. Yeah. Here's a feeling. Okay. So let's just say you're not in your truth. And that's okay. We get there. It doesn't have to be like bada bing, bada bang, bada bang. Oh my God, I have to speak my truth right now. Like there's a process, you know, of I can do this. When you get there, right, it's like you're going to be living in the truth, which is freedom. And if you're afraid to ruffle feathers, right, what are you living in right now? Resist, like it's constriction, resistance. Oof, you're already in the a little bit. And that's not going to go away.
Yeah.
Right? So no matter what, there is ick feeling.
Yes.
But one will set you free.
Yeah. The truth will set you free.
If not, you're choosing to live in this space. And that's okay too. But you're choosing to feel this way.
Yeah, you're choosing to deny it.
And you're choosing to feel, and to keep thinking about it. You know, I mean, I am also.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a courage, and I'm getting there with mine.
Yeah, 100%. And again, I'll raise my hand. It's like I am very much human. And before I started The Unbreakable Man, I was very much in the world of like go and do, and you know, I'm gonna go see this many clients, and I'm gonna get this much money if I see this many clients, and I have this overhead, and I can make this much profit, and I wasn't in resonance with any of it, and I was still choosing, but I was unconsciously choosing. And here's the thing, like. Yeah. Doesn't make you a bad person. You just don't know that you're unconsciously choosing the tension. But you're still choosing it. And you have free will to choose something different, but there will always be a consequence. And that consequence could be everything you built must go away. And that's hard. That's fucking hard. That's terrifying sometimes when you think about, well, I don't want to be a lawyer. I want to be a thespian. I want to be an actor. And I had a client of mine that came through our program, and he wanted to be an actor, and he wasn't getting acting gigs, but he was also not truly embodying his knowing that this is what he desires. And sometimes we desire it not just because we want it, but because it is a opportunity for us to become truly whole.
Full expression. And we have to go through all of the fears and all of the doubts and all of the worry in order to get there. And we have to reckon with the parts of us that feels that it can't have that, or that we are damaging others or hurting others in our choices. And if we hurt others, then we're a bad boy, right? And we don't want to be bad.
Because if we were bad, then we won't get our
bad happen.
Exactly.
Things bad will happen.
And then our needs won't be met and we won't get what we really want. But in reality, we actually do if we follow our truth. And that's where that saying, the truth will set you free, has nothing to do with something outside of you. It has everything to do with you, with the integrity of your own soul, of you knowing what's on your heart, of like, you want to be an actor? Like, fuck yeah. Like, do that. There is so much truth to that. There is, like most of the guys that come through my program know that there is something on their heart that they're not living up to. And there are mindset blocks. And of course, there's other things that are going on in their life, right? There could be past traumas and emotional baggage and these things. And there's like the tangible things of life as well, like the dollars and cents and the operations and the discipline and those things. And I speak on that too, but if I had to sum it up of like, what's the one thing that we do? It's just to help guys just express who the fuck they want to be. Be it. Just be free. Because at the end of the day, that's all we want. We just want to be free. And that's it. And I love that you get to be that and you get to express that. And what's really interesting, and I've told you this, but I'll tell you again, is like by witnessing you, it reminds me that I get to be free too. And we get to, and we had again a moment before we stepped in and I was able to like really experience that. And there was so much joy and so much pleasure and play that moved through me. And it was beautiful.
You made me cry. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
We're here for each other.
Yeah.
I was able to share, you hold space so beautifully. I was able to share some of my truth that I was in a little moment of also I'm coming out more in my full expression. And I've used to be, even though I've accomplished whatever I've accomplished, and people are like, they're like, you're so expressive. And I'm like, well, you've seen 20%. That's the truth. And so my whole thing is more expression of myself, right? And so I shared something and that was uncomfortable for me a little bit. It was like, I spoke about my relationship with God and I don't necessarily do that in my, and I hadn't shared that before. And people see me in a certain way. And sometimes I've molded into just letting people see that much. And so I am in this space. This is the year for me of ease and full expression. And I'm honoring that with myself. That's integrity. That integrity doesn't have to be like, I have to do good here and good here and good here. It's what I want for myself this year and how do I stay that course? It could be whatever it is any day. So like with you, I shared and I spoke about God and my relationship with God and how I really truly feel that God put me in real estate, right? Because I never imagined myself being a realtor. My background is holistic medicine and the way I grew up and what I studied and I, organs, all the things. And here I am now, a top real estate agent. And so sharing that, you held such beautiful space of where I was expressing and what I want to share is that in that moment, I was in a tidbit of a moment of self-judgment, but okay. But self-judgment, but I'm okay. Like compassion, self-judgment, compassion. And I had to go through that. And it took a minute or so, but go through that feeling. And by holding space, we allow each other to soften in to what is real of.
It doesn't matter.
But it's like the compassion, it's okay. We're human. We will talk bad to ourselves. We will be mean to ourselves. That's what we do.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Yes. And you mentioned something about holding space there. And I think this is poignant. When you are witnessed from a place of empathy by another, and again, they understand it's not their shit, but they can like witness the all of you. There is such a healing that happens and it's like a recapitulation, a reclamation of self that you get to reclaim the parts of you that have been sort of thrown out, even if by you or by maybe someone else through an experience that you felt there's something missing. And maybe for you, it was just you being free to express your relationship with God and how.
Yeah, and a little darkness that I was like holding. I was like, oh, this hurt a little bit. So I'm going to.
Yeah.
I realized that it wasn't coming from that, from you holding that space.
Yeah.
It was just, this is new.
Yes.
This is just new.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's it.
Okay,
but that's the thing. There's such a healing that happens. I do believe, and this is from my own experience, this is what I've seen from so many people, when you desire something, again, whether it's a certain lifestyle, whether it's to be the number one realtor in the United States or whatever that desire is, that we put the desire out there, a true heartfelt desire, so that we can reclaim the parts of ourselves that are missing. It's not the thing that we want. It's actually the wholeness that we're seeking. And it's the freedom in that. And in the freedom is power. And in the power is joy. And in the joy is play. And in the play is life. And in the life is, you got to keep going down the line. It just brings all of the goodness when we set our sights on the greatest dream. This is why the first place I start people off on is like, well, what do you want? What do you actually want? Like, if you had to really think about, do you want to be, right, like the top producing seller in the United States, in Texas, and do you want to be an actor? Do you want to be a philanthropist? What does that look like? And then go after that, because all of the parts of you that have been hiding in the dark have to come forward. They have to be reclaimed so that you can be the version of yourself that stands on that podium and gives that amazing award-winning speech, or writes that book that you've always wanted, or builds that company. And we oftentimes forget that the point of the goal is the journey itself. And
I think the way I got to where I got to, me personally, I still don't have that goal or dream or whatever to be the top producing agent. I didn't even know. In the first 9 months of me doing business, my team leader was like, do you have any idea on how much you've produced, closed? And I was like, nope. Because I was just having so much fun showing up every day.
Yeah.
I was having fun because I had nothing to lose. I was like, oh, this is going to work.
Yeah.
But I have always had sayings, and I put them on my mirror. And there was this one that really was like real for me, was the vision, right? It was vision, not how I want to see or what I see things, but how I want to feel. What is the vision of how, in that sense, how do I want to feel? Because if I can only see it, for me, it was so real of how do I want to feel when I'm 80?
Yeah.
Looked really different than what can I see?
Ooh. I'm going to just, how do I want to feel when I'm 80? That hits so different than what do I want to see? What kind of house? What kind of cars? What kind of life?
How do I want to feel?
Now, let me
feel that every day.
Let me ask you this. This is like me curiously asking the question. Do you still, in a way, have desire relative to material possession in that?
I'm learning. I'm in the space of figuring out whether that's a thing or not, because I never have had material desires. But I'm also working through, is this a generational scarcity thing? Is it not? I really don't. But how I want to feel now, I'm peeling enough away, like the feeling of how I want to feel is getting me to a place of having more cleanliness of heart and thought, to being like, what is my desire? As in, but I'm able to, like, my desire, I can tell you right now, I mean, my desire is now coming to fruition. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, my dream of, I use real estate as my tool. And I've always said that it's the tool that I use to do all these other things, right? My community, my practitioners. I'm a bridge to both worlds. I'm able to show the world you can be in real estate, you can be a lawyer, you could be in business, and you can still be fully you and whole and spiritual, whatever it is you want to be. You know, you don't have to wear drop crotch pants. You don't have, you know, to say you have this practice with God or whatever it is. But my dream has always been, you know, merging of the both worlds, of how we're going to create this beautiful heart-led world. And so now I'm a part of this team that is creating a development of thriving humans. Like, the goal, the mission every single person on this team has is to build a community, which I never thought I'd be really building physical communities. You know, I was like always in the energetic community. I'm like, yeah, here you go. So that humans can thrive, right? So like, oh, my dream is coming to be like thriving humans. And like, that just lights me up.
Yeah.
Fully. So I'm owning that desire.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I think what you're describing is, and I'm just trying to summarize so that I understand, is you start with a feeling. You start with the sensation of, maybe it's community, but there's more than just community. It's it's like love and connection and joy and play and freedom and expression and all of these things. And you kind of like, okay, I'm going to put that there. That's where I'm going to start. And then outside of that, you get to sift and sort of what, like, how does that show up? And I'm just going to start with community. And you were mentioning, like, you've been in the energetic community for many years. And I too have been there. And as an example, one of the areas that I was working on a little while ago was abundance. And I wanted to experience money. I wanted more money. And frankly, I didn't want to fucking work for it. Like, I just wanted it to come to me. And I remember it was the pandemic, 2020. And I was like, all right, God, universe, source, whatever, is right for your belief. I had a very heartfelt ask. I said, listen, I know you've brought me this far, and I know I am guided by you. Send me the money that I need for my family in a way that comes easily and often, and I don't have to work for it. And it's just beautiful. Yeah. And then I would just go and I would set the vibe. I would set the vibe around abundance, and I would just really claim that vibration. And in that year, my family and I received about $112,000 in unexpected money. Unexpected. I'm talking like crazy stories. My bank called me. They had charged me like maybe $1,000 for a financial product that they shouldn't have, and they had to return it. But then they added in loss and damage. This is like from 10 years ago. And they sent me a check for like close to $13,000. It was crazy. We got checks from family members that like their estate had, would done something. And then like, there was like, what? Okay. Like, this is amazing.
Sure,
like, this is incredible. It's, again, random. These are random. A production company rented my garage to film a commercial, and I got paid like thousands of dollars for that commercial for them. It was outrageous. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is how it works. And then there was still a sense of lack of fulfillment for me as Dave. And I was like, all right, now it's time for me to earn that money. I want that money to come through because of my work, because during the pandemic, I was in the body industry still, and nobody wanted to come through. I mean, like, I still had a few clients here and there, but people don't want to be face-to-face, hands-on, right, with you, like during a pandemic when they're so afraid. And so I had to pivot, and I was doing the best I could. But in reality, I let go. I spent so much time with my son and just played dad, and I took him on walks. I remember like just being in the flow.
Yeah.
And it always worked out. And I remember my wife was having a hard time with the fact that I wasn't earning money. Because that's the story her and I play back and forth is like Dave earns money, brings it home, and I said, yes, I am provider, right? So it's like I am still choosing this paradigm of providership, right? Put all of the providership of stable emotional household, financial security, right? Like fun and play, right? I'm the provider of all these things. And if I don't show up if I don't provide, and keep in mind, and I love my father-in-law, I just want to just start there. He's done very well for himself financially, very well. And I can't how am I going to show up and I'm not in the oil and gas industry, you know, I haven't sold billion-dollar companies. Like, where is this thing coming from, right? So there was still this like kind of paradigm that her and I were like, you know, kind of playing. And so it's been such a journey. It's such a journey, you know, her and I. And what I recognize, and kind of going back to what you were describing, is in the morning or just in general, like this idea of like, well, do I have a goal? Do I need a tangible goal of like this house by this time with this kind of thing and this, or, you know, maybe this is the way we go. It's like you set the vibe. You know what it is. It's joy, it's play, it's expression, it's peace, it's ease, it's love, it's whatever is right. And you go to the feeling first. And then you can sift and sort, well, what's inside of it? And if you want fulfillment, maybe you do want it to come through your hand.
Well, then, because you know, in that feeling, right? If you want to feel a certain way.
Yeah.
If it feels good in the body and you want to feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And that's what you're like, okay, just today. My mom would always say, one day at a time. Literally, one day at a time.
Yeah.
Then you know when you're doing something that isn't there. So for that day, you don't do that. You just do. Like you just be, you do what is going to keep you in that one feeling and see where that leads you.
I see what you're saying. So let me ask you this though. If like I got a bunch of projects.
Okay.
And like
you still got to do your projects.
Okay. So give me an example of how that would show up.
Okay. So how that would, I'm still working real estate.
Yeah.
Right. That is what I am still human. I still have bills. I have a roof over my head. I have to pay my car. All these things we need to still do.
Yeah.
It is still reality. How can I have the frequency of how do I play in this space? Right?
Yeah.
How do I play? That's where like when they say, you know, if you're working with somebody you just really don't want to work with, don't work with them.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that because it takes so much energy.
Yes.
Right? So then you find the people you want to work with. It's that kind of example. So then for me, like my open house, right? From the first time I did open houses, when I first started, oh my gosh, I remember I was at Hyde Park. I was doing an open house for a mentor of mine. And I didn't really know how other people really were doing open houses at all. Like, whatever. I was like, how do I do open houses? I went to every single store that is in Hyde Park, which there's like a little corner. They have like a cheese shop, a cafe, Fresh Plus.
It's a fun little part of Austin.
Fun little old part of Austin.
Yeah.
I walked into every single one of those shops and I was like, hey, so I'm having an open house down the street on Sunday. And, you know, I'd really like for people who are coming to this house to see if they're coming through, that means they're considering living here. What does it really feel like to live here? Yeah. Do you think you would are you open to giving me a gift card? And every single one of them were like, nobody's ever asked us that before. Absolutely. I had aunties, one of the Italian shops, they were like, you know what they gave me? They gave me a dinner for 4 with wine included.
Wow.
I had fun. That was how I was showing up for my open house. Most people are like, oh my God, I have to do an open house.
Now, if you think about that, you live in that neighborhood. If I'm that Italian shop, absolutely I'm going to do that because if whoever's going to buy that house, comes to my restaurant,
they're going to continue to come.
They're going to continue to come. It's right up the street.
But I wasn't even thinking about that. I was like, how can I make this really fun? So I did a raffle.
Yeah.
So I got all these cards and I did a raffle, and people that came through were so excited. They all put their names down in this. I ended up getting 3 amazing clients from that, which that wasn't even like, I never thought that was going to happen.
Yes.
I was just like, this is really cute and really fun. So that's what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like making whatever you're doing, how do you do that fun?
Absolutely.
What's fun for you?
There's a bit of an irony too about open houses, and I've heard this, and you can maybe steer me wrong because I'm not truly in the real estate market or in the industry, but I've always heard that like 50% of the people that come to open houses are actually the nosy neighbors.
A lot of them.
Yeah. And so actually by you doing that, it almost helped the neighborhood, and I can see how you gained access to more clients by having a raffle. And you're promoting the local businesses. So you're creating this sense of community because you went in with knowing that you are establishing community. And again, Hyde Park's fun, man.
Because I had to make real estate fun.
Yes.
I could not do it the old way. I had shadowed, and I was like, there's no way I can do business this way.
Yes.
So I was like, all right. I'm not gonna do it.
And the thing is, and the most important piece to this entire thing is that you are living in your authentic truth. And you spoke up and you said, I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to do it my way. How is Des going to do it? And you showed up and you're just like, and you didn't even ask permission. You just did it. You're like, hey, can I go? No. I'm just going to go do this. I'm going to create some incredible experience, not even realizing what you were doing, but it's almost like in hindsight, you're like, oh, wow, I
was challenging myself too. I was like, it'll be really great if they give me one. When I got one, I was like, whoa, this rocks.
Yeah.
So I went to the next one, and I told the next one that the other one gave me one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was the fun part in that moment. Next thing I know, I have all these things. I'm like, wow, okay. That sounds fun.
Yeah, that's incredible. And again, you were able to raffle this off and you probably made acquaintances with the managers and probably got some deals from that too.
Oh yeah, it was so good. It was so good.
See, that is the difference between being a rainmaker and just getting by. And I've heard that term, being a rainmaker. It's you putting yourself in order with yourself, and the entire world will conspire on behalf of your success. That is amazing. What an incredible way to really tap into the real estate market and be the most amazing human on the face of the planet. And I think I actually want to almost like put a period on that, because I think that that's such a beautiful way to like bring this entire conversation into a closure, because you, by being you, have been able to create incredible amounts of success, and I get to be inspired by you, and I get to live in play and enjoy and be whoever the fuck I want to be by witnessing you, because it reminds me that full authentic expression of self is the way. It's the way of integrity. I always say this, if you want to be, I call it the unbreakable man, right? If you want to be this unbreakable man, you must live with responsibility, full responsibility for your experience. You must live with discipline, of course, and you must live in integrity with your soul. Because if you don't, you will feel crushed. Yeah. Then the discipline becomes very transactional, and it sucks.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I so wish that every single, and it looks different for everyone. That's the thing, is that whatever brings you joy.
Whatever brings you joy.
Whatever.
Yeah. And you'll know because you'll be choosing the opposite. And you'll feel the tension. You're like, I'm choosing tension right now. You can always ask yourself, like, what am I choosing right now? By the experiences that you're getting back, like the evidence. If you get people that are like yelling at you, you're choosing that.
Yeah.
And
if you're choosing that, it's okay.
Yeah.
Then you're seeing that that's happening, and it's like, ooh, why am I choosing that?
Yeah.
That's the good juicy juice. That's the good juicy juice.
We'll keep that for part 2.
Okay.
We'll come back.
Sounds
Why
good.
am I choosing this? Well, this has been amazing.
It's been fun.
It's been amazing. If people want to move to Austin,
yes,
and they want to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you?
My Instagram is Good Days in Austin. And if you want to move to Austin, I'm building, and I'm so going to drop this because it is the way of the future and it is incredible. I am a part of a team that is building the most intentional, thriving community the world has ever seen. The technology we're using is insane. We are going underground. Everybody's going to thrive. We are building a sound frequency temple.
Oh.
There's a lot more good juicy juice. So, good days in Austin.
Ooh.
And I answer all my DMs. So,
reach out.
Yeah, reach out.
I'm very excited to hear about this sanctuary, and you kind of mentioned it really quickly, but
we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
In another conversation, which is amazing.
Thank you for you. And thank you for holding me and letting me cry and breathe and be and speak my truth.
It's my honor. I find so much joy in knowing that I get to hold space. And that's like, what a treat for me. And I love you.
I love you.
And I love you all for listening. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Unbreakable Man podcast. If you found this episode valuable, then go ahead and leave a 5-star review explaining how this podcast has helped you so more people can find it. If you want to be a part of the Brotherhood, then click the link in the description below. You can also check out the Unbreakable Man experience if you're ready to face a deeper challenge and change your life for the better in just 3 days. All right, guys. Thanks again for listening. I appreciate you. And as always, stay unbreakable.